Opening day is 1 week away, so that means it is prediction time. What are my predictions for this 2024 MLB season? Who is going to win the World Series in 2024? Drop your comments down below in the comment section because at the end of the day, I'm not going to be wrong, you're not going to be wrong, and that guy is also not going to be wrong. So go ahead, discuss in the comments about my predictions or your predictions. Without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, so hopefully you guys don't mind seeing my face less in this video. I made a template for all of my predictions. We're going to start off with the American League East. Starting off with the worst team in the AL East, it's going to be the Boston Red Sox for me. The Red Sox really, just not a good team. Not a good team. They're not a horrible team, right? 79 wins. They're not a good team for me. The Rays at 85 and 77 coming in at 4th place. The Rays take a step back this year. I think they're due for a regression at some point. I think this is the year. The Blue Jays 88 and 74. The Blue Jays are just one of those teams that is just pencil them in for 88 wins. I think you could pencil them in for 88 wins and see where they end up. The New York Yankees 92 wins and 70 losses. The Yankees are going to be right in that 90 to 93 win range. Even without Garrett Cole, I know I got some Yankee fans in my last video talking about, they're going to be good, and I'm not saying they're not going to be good, but they're not going to be as good, but good enough for me to finish off with 90 plus wins. American League East winner is going to be the Baltimore Orioles at 104 and 58. I really like this Orioles team. Good last year, as we all know, winning the division, getting knocked out in the DS pretty handedly, but I like the talent infusion there, and I think they have a good team. Corbin Burns, though I'm not the biggest fan of Corbin Burns as a one guy, you got to respect the guy and what he does. So I have the Orioles at 104 and 58. Moving along to the AL Central. So in this division, honestly, I just flipped a coin for this one because who really knows at this point, right? Who really knows with all 5 of these teams and how it's really going to play out? I think a coin flip might have been the best way to go about it. But the last place team in this division for me is going to be the Chicago White Sox at 60 and 102. This White Sox team is I don't know, that kind of reminds me of a barren land, just kind of a building in the middle of nowhere, and that's kind of why I see the White Sox just kind of going nowhere. The Kansas City Royals at 66 and 96 in 4th. I see everyone's hype about the Royals, and oh my god, they're signing players, but they're not signing players of any consistency that is going to help them win now or in the future. Yeah, they're signing guys in their lower 30s, maybe even mid 30s. I just don't think that's going to be a winning formula, and that rebuild is going forever, and it's going to keep going on because they're not going to be anywhere close to the postseason, even in a horrible division. The Cleveland Guardians 77 and 85, just about mediocre as you would expect for Cleveland. You know what, I was really high on this team last year, and they really disappointed me. Losing Terry Francona this year, give a little bit of a new direction and see where they go from next year. But for this year, I have them at 77 wins and 85 losses. The Detroit Tigers kind of surprised people last year, kind of were slept on a little bit, won a lot of games. I have them at 81 and 81, finishing at 500. I think the Tigers are good. I like the moves they're making. I think they're close, but they're not close enough for me to win this division. I still have the Twins kind of just winning it, if you will. They're not a great team by any means, although they did win a few games last year in the postseason. But at 86 and 76, I think the Twins, even with losing Sonny Gray, I still think they're a solid enough team. I like the young talent there to make a push to the postseason. Moving along to the AL West. For the American League West, I have the Oakland A's at 58 and 104. Is this the last year we will ever talk about the Oakland Athletics? Well, that's to be seen. 58 wins for them. The Anaheim Angels coming in at 67 and 95, losing another 90 games this year. Angels losing Ohtani, I think it's well known by now. This is not a good baseball team. This is not a good baseball team. They have a couple of young players that are pretty good there, but overall, top to bottom, that is not a good baseball team. The Seattle Mariners at 88 wins and 74 losses, kind of getting a similar feel for the Mariners as the Blue Jays, kind of penciling them in for 88 wins every single year. Will be good enough to make the postseason, we shall see, but 88 wins, I really like that starting staff of Seattle. The Texas Rangers coming in second place at 92 and 70. They're having a lot of injuries to begin the year. That's not too shocking considering they went deep into October last year, winning the World Series and all that. I think this team is going to be good again. You have one of the best players in baseball, of course. You're going to be a good team. 92 and 70 is where I see them finishing, and finishing in first place in the AL West once again. is Houston Astros at 94 wins and 88 losses. The Astros just edging out the Rangers once again. Will it be enough for them to make it to the World Series again? We shall see, but have Houston taking the division. I know they're going through a bit of injuries there, but I like the team, and baseball's a long season, and I think these teams will do the necessary changes as they go along. That is my American League standings. Moving along to the National League East here, starting off with the 5th place Nationals. This is the team that I like where the direction is going. I really like it, and I think this Nationals team will win a World Series by the end of the decade here. I like where they're going, but 69 wins and 93 losses where I have them penciled in here. The New York Mets at 81 and 81. I might be a little bit higher on the NL East standings, but here we are. The Mets at 81 and 81. I like the lineup. I think the Mets lineup is really good. Their pitching is where it really takes a turn for the worse there. The Miami Marlins 84 and 78. I think the Marlins, I know they didn't get talked about a lot because they did pretty much nothing, but I like a couple of moves they made. They still have a little bit of a solid base there, even though they lost Alcantara for the year. I think the Marlins can be competitive and hang in there again. For the Philadelphia Phillies, I have them at 94 and 68. For the Phillies, we know the Phillies are a good team. We know the Phillies can go deep into October. 94 wins and 68 losses. This is a great baseball team. And the Atlanta Braves are the cream of the crop of the National League East, once again finishing at 162. So I have the Braves once again winning that division and winning the NL East. It's going to be the St. Louis Cardinals for me. This Cardinals team is really disappointing me. I was in their social media posts a couple of years back, and they're just kind of disappointing me right now. 67 wins and 95 losses. Goldschmidt and Arenado are not getting any younger here. And this team went out and signed 3 pitchers, including Sonny Gray, who I like. Sonny Gray's good. I'm not sure he's the number 1 guy, but he's good. And Kyle Gibson and Lance Lynn, yeah, they're going to pile up a lot of losses for the Cardinals. That is just not a good baseball team. I'm sorry, St. Louis. The team that I had winning the World Series last year, and yeah, this has just gone south really fast. 4th place, I have the Pittsburgh Pirates, 74 and 88. The Pirates, another long rebuild here. 74 wins. Yeah, they're getting a little bit better, I suppose, but 88 losses, like, that's still a little bit of ways away. It's going to be another long year, I think, in Pittsburgh. For the Cincinnati Reds, I have them at 81 and 81. I like this Reds team a lot. Having some injuries here in spring training. We'll see how they navigate it through the season, but I like the Reds team. This could be a sneaky wildcard team that can make the postseason, but I have them here at 81 and 81. That would be fun to watch nonetheless. And in 2nd place, I have the Milwaukee Brewers at 88 wins and 74 losses. I just think this Brewers team is kind of well ran, if you will. And despite everything, losing Corbin Burns and all that, I still think there's enough talent on this team with the prospects coming up that they find a way to win 88 games. The division is not good in itself, so I think the Brewers can win and be competitive in this division. We'll see if that holds true. And winning the division is going to be the Chicago Cubs. They were close last year, haven't won 90 games. They were close last year. We'll see if they can finally get over the hump this year and win the division. And the last place for the National League West is going to be the Colorado Rockies at 59 and 103. The most obvious team to finish last this year is going to be the Rockies. I know with the Rockies, we know what we're getting. We're getting a good offense with bad pitching, and that just doesn't really go well for the Rockies year in and year out. For the San Francisco Giants, 77 wins and 85 losses. I know they signed a lot of guys. I know they signed a lot of big name free agent guys. But I still have this team as mediocre as it gets. 77 wins, 85 losses. The Blake Snell signing really reminds me a lot of the Carlos Rodon signing a couple of years back. It was like a 1-year deal with the opt-out. And so Blake Snell getting the same kind of treatment there. It just screams mediocre, and it screams Blake Snell opting out and signing elsewhere next year. So I have the Giants at 77 and 85. For the San Diego Padres, 83 and 79, pretty similar to last year. I think their season isn't quite as a roller coaster as it was last year, but I don't think this team is good enough to really compete with the Diamondbacks and the Dodgers in the National League West, as I have the Diamondbacks finishing at 90 and 72. I like this team a lot, and they should be back in the postseason this year. I think they got even better than they did last year, so 90 wins and 72 losses for the Arizona Diamondbacks. And of course, last but not least, the Los Angeles Dodgers finishing the National League West with a 19-game lead over the D-backs at 109 and 53, just a couple wins shy of what they put up a couple of years ago. So this Dodger team is going to win a lot of games. I have them in at 109 and 53 for 2024. Who are my playoff teams? Who is going to make the postseason? So here we go. This on the screen right now, we have in the American League the Orioles, Twins, and Astros as the division winners, along with the Yankees, Rangers, and Blue Jays as wildcard teams. In the National League, we have the Braves, Cubs, and Dodgers as the division winners, with the Phillies, D-backs, and Brewers as the wildcard teams. In my prediction standings, I have two new playoff teams. Those two new playoff teams being the Yankees and the Cubs going into 2024. Everyone else made the postseason last year. This could be really wrong at the end of the day, or it could be really right, as with the Himwins predictions. But I have two new playoff teams. I think other teams obviously have a chance to compete, but these are the teams I have going into the postseason. So who is going to be the World Series winner for me? Here we go. So I have the Phillies and the Orioles going all the way to the Fall Classic. I just think the Orioles are the best team in the American League. I think the Rangers are right up there with them, and the Astros too. But I think the Orioles rebound from last year. They build off of that. I think they have a great team, and they're going to be a sexy pick to come out of the American League. I think that's going to be the case. Now I'm kind of on the bandwagon. I'm on the O's bandwagon. I think they get it done this year to go to the World Series. National League, yeah, I don't want to have the Dodgers losing in the NLDS again, but I have them losing in the NLDS again. Obviously, I hope I'm wrong as a Dodger fan. Obviously, I want to see them win, but I can't pick the Dodgers every year. Otherwise, maybe you guys wouldn't watch. But I have the Phillies going to the World Series and facing the Baltimore Orioles. I think the Phillies once again won up the Braves in the National League Championship Series this time. And they just have the Brave number, right? That's just kind of how it is with some teams. And they face the O's. And I have the Phillies winning the World Series, as you guys can see. I think this Phillies team is kind of built for the postseason, and I think with a couple of minor moves they made and a couple of minor moves they can make at the deadline, I think this Phillies team is going to go ahead and win the World Series this year. I think they're due, and I think they finally get it done this year to win the Fall Classic. Shohei Ohtani and Evan Carter winning the National League and American League MVPs. Zach Wheeler and George Kirby winning the Cy Youngs. Yoshinobu Yamamoto and Wyatt Langford winning the Rookie of the Year 2024. Once again, let me know your guys' thoughts down below in the comment section about these predictions. Without further ado, play ball.